A couple of days ago, I made a video about how Logan Paul has decided he will be suing Coffeezilla for defamation against his crypto alleged scam in CryptoZoo, even though he has stated previously that he will not be pressing any legal charges against Coffeezilla, and actually thanked him for his work in bringing the whole thing to light. Which meant that Logan Paul pledged $1.5 million of his own money back to the victims of CryptoZoo, even though the victims have now seen none of that money, and he's done a complete U-turn on this basically. But a lawyer over on YouTube that goes by the name of Spencer Cornelia has made a fantastic video about talking about the whole defamation case, and him being a lawyer, it's really interesting to get his take on the situation. So we're going to take a little look at it today. I will leave a link to this channel, Spencer Cornelia, down in the description, so you guys can get go and check out his channel for other pieces of his work. I highly recommend you go over. But yeah, we're going to take a little look at it and see what has been said from a lawyer's point of view, because this really has baffled me.
Logan Paul is a fan favorite in the WWE, but on YouTube these days, not so much. CryptoZoo went down in flames and Coffeezilla reported it as a scam. Logan replied with a threat to sue him and took major heat for it.
Coffeezilla, I now know your motives with this, clout and money, and I'll see you in court.
So he retracted his threat, made a classic fake apology video, and moved on.
Coffeezilla is not a criminal. I called him, I apologized. My initial response to his series was that of fire, an ego flare, whatever it is, pride. I'm a fighter at heart, and I was defensive because I know I never scammed anyone with this project. I never made any money, never sold any tokens, and I only had the best intentions going in. But the fact is that suing Coffeezilla is not going to help CryptoZoo holders, so I do need to focus my attention where it should be, which is on fans and supporters of me.
Coffeezilla wouldn't let him off the hook though and kept pressuring him to issue refunds.
Quote, "Hey Logan, following up on the zoo refunds, when should people expect those? It's been about a month." And then
I think this is fair from from Coffeezilla, because, you know, he's holding Logan accountable, because typical YouTube stuff is to say, yes, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. But then nothing ever happens. It gets brushed under the rug and people are expected to forget. All right? And that's what happens with the internet. People do tend to forget about these things. But holding someone accountable, especially when they say they're going to pledge $1.5 million, and we heard it in Coffeezilla's original video. If you haven't seen it, check out my last video. People have invested hundreds of thousands of their own dollars into this project, all for it to go bust. And they haven't had a penny back. And there has been a, what's it called? Where the public take a lawsuit against Logan Paul. I've forgotten what it's called. It will come back to me, but yeah.
and a month later, following up again. People are wondering what's going on. Almost been 2 months. Very frustrating for victims to get promises and then see nothing and get zero communication.
Fair.
And then later, "Hey Logan, following up for a third time, it's been over 5 months since you promised to refund the victims of CryptoZoo over $3 million.
Logan finally came through with a $1 million buyback program out of his own pocket. Commendable, perhaps, but pennies to a soon-to-be billionaire. All good now, though, right? Well, the other day, Logan sued Coffeezilla for defamation, claiming that Coffeezilla acted with intent to damage his character and intentionally left out key evidence.
Yeah. Yes, Logan did do that, and it was commendable, but the victims still haven't actually seen that money.
Did Logan actually win this case? Let's examine. I've been sued twice for defamation because of YouTube videos, so I feel uniquely qualified to speak on this case.
Oh,
the
wow.
first step in any defamation case is figuring out if the plaintiff, the guy suing, is a public figure. Logan is a globally recognized entertainer, athlete, and entrepreneur. You have private figures, limited purpose public figures, and all purpose public figures. With defamation cases, if the plaintiff is a public figure, then it alters how the plaintiff will need to argue in order to win the case. More on this in a minute. Logan Paul is a WWE superstar, 25 million social media followers, internationally known, and very easily considered an A-list entertainer. It's safe to say he's an all-purpose public figure. Why does this actually matter?
In terms of proving malice, which Logan will need to do because he's a public figure and Coffeezilla is a journalist who's talking about this matter of public concern, and so Logan needs to establish that it's not just that Coffeezilla got the facts allegedly wrong or accused him of doing something he didn't do. It's that Coffeezilla either knew that those facts were false those alleged facts were false when he made them, or he recklessly disregarded the truth when he made them. And
Finn Dyson has perpetuated the false narrative that Paul scammed and defrauded his own fans in connection with the project. This is essentially the core complaint made by Logan. He doesn't believe he scammed, and to be painted as a scammer in a popular YouTube series was not fair to him. Despite being in possession of and purposefully omitting from his series and related statements overwhelming objective evidence that Paul had, in reality, been enthusiastic about the project and deeply committed to its success, only to be deceived by several of the project's trusted advisors who turned out to be con men.
Now, that is, that's fair to say. I mean, obviously, Logan may have had the best intentions. I can't say otherwise, because obviously I wasn't there at its conception. He may have had the best intentions going in. He may have wanted this to be a huge success. He might be absolutely bummed that it flopped. But at the same time, many people in my last video said that, yes, it wasn't Logan who... This was in the comment section, by the way. Yes, it wasn't Logan that actually was the reason that it collapsed. But as the kind of figurehead and the CEO of this project, the onus is on him to vet and approve the people that he has working on this. So therefore, the onus, if it goes well, is on you, and you look fantastic. But if it goes wrong, it all falls onto you as the CEO to, make sure that you are responsible for handling it correctly. And that's where the grey area and the murky waters have started to come in, and that's why Coffeezilla has made the series.
I'll cover this in detail near the end, but this statement makes this case at least a little interesting and worthy of analyzing the arguments, because what they're alleging is a pretty good argument for acting with malice. Coffeezilla's lawyers will help protect him legally, and I want to share with you how today's sponsor Aura will protect you digitally. A scammer tried to...
Right, we're going to move on from this part, obviously. Aura's great. Go and check out the full video and use his code and all the rest of it.
Project, and was actually the one who was scammed.
Logan's previous behavior does factor into the damages aspect of this case. If Coffeezilla could show that Logan's reputation was essentially couldn't get any worse and is therefore impossible to defame him further, then that could be a good argument against Logan's damages theory. So it's relevant, certainly, and I expect that Coffeezilla will point to or try to point to facts that say, look, Logan already had a bad reputation before this project even happened, and nothing that I've said has made any material difference in terms of how people view Logan Paul.
These stories are complicated because there's actually two stories here.
Yeah, this is where it gets murky and it gets difficult, because obviously Coffeezilla's got the argument of... Well, Logan Paul's got the argument of, you made me look bad. And Coffeezilla can just turn around and be like, but you already looked bad. So it's really like a battle of two halves, isn't it? Like, it's a very difficult one to kind of prove or disprove.
One story is that Logan Paul created an NFT project and promoted it to millions of people. His fans invested in this project. It was a failure. Nothing was delivered and refunds were not given. That is a fact. Unbeknownst to Paul, however, Greenbaum and Ibanez were con artists. Both men lied about their resumes, knowledge, experience, and intentions. The second story is that Logan Paul might have been scammed as well. He still has some responsibility, of course, but this complaint happened because he felt like it was defamatory to claim he intentionally deceived his audience through this project. Coffeezilla's investigation into blockchain transactions showed that Greenbaum was by far the biggest seller of Zoo tokens, netting more than $6 million from improperly buying and selling Zoo tokens without permission. His investigation also revealed that Ibanez was also secretly selling Zoo tokens and that he made approximately $1.7 million from doing so. To me, it's pretty clear who the bad actors are in this project, so calling Logan Paul a scammer is probably not entirely accurate, given that the insinuation is that he intended to deceive. But that's not really important. What matters is if using that word is defamatory, whether accurate or not.
The word scammer by itself is not necessarily defamatory. What matters is how that term is tied to specific facts or other specific actions. It's like calling somebody a racist. If I call someone a racist without more, saying that by itself is not something that the law will treat as being defamatory. Instead, if I say this person is racist because they did X, Y, and Z, or this person's a scammer because they did this specific thing, then those allegations could potentially support a claim for defamation. But just calling someone a scammer without more is not going to cut it.
You've probably heard the...
Interesting. So I wonder how this would, if it was to go to court, that is, I wonder how this would go down. And I tell you what else is interesting about this whole case is Logan Paul. No denying he's a multi-millionaire, maybe even billionaire with Prime and stuff now. But when I saw the figure, right, it was $75,000 plus interest and legal fees, and also like other little expenditures. It probably it maybe reach $100,000 at most, right, for the case. That is obviously it's a lot of money to someone like me, but to someone like Logan Paul, that's a drop in the ocean. That's loose change, right? So I think this lawsuit is more to prove a point against Coffeezilla and to kind of like basically be like a massive FU to Coffeezilla, as opposed to a genuine like, you've defamed my character. I don't think Logan actually particularly cares, if I'm being perfectly honest, and this is just my opinion. I don't think Logan particularly cares. I think Logan more wants to prove a point to the world that he has the power and the sway to take down even the biggest internet journalist in Coffeezilla, who of course has pushed the biggest narrative against Logan Paul. So yeah, I can't see Logan Paul really caring about 100 grand in the grand scheme of things.
Cliche phrase, truth is the best defense to defamation. Yes, that is accurate. However, it's not always so simple. Most defamation cases are not simply black or white. Life is complex. Business disputes are complex. Dealing with people's different perception of how an agreement was supposed to be handled can be complex. Ibanez and Greenbaum may even have evidence indicating they believe they were scammed by Logan. You've probably been in the middle of a boyfriend and girlfriend fighting before and heard both of their sides, and then thought to yourself, man, I don't really know who to believe. So when people say truth, it's not always so simple because people present their versions of the truth, which sometimes conflict. Finn Dyson also concluded that at the end of the day, the number one problem and the true boring reason for CryptoZoo's ultimate demise was Ibanez's failure to pay the game developers on time, despite Ibanez also netting millions of dollars from illicitly selling of Zoo tokens.
So CryptoZoo is already being sued, and Logan are being sued in a class action over what happened with that project.
Class action lawsuit. That's the word I was trying to find at the start of the video. It's a class action lawsuit that has been going against Logan Paul for some time now.
So it's not clear to me that Coffeezilla sort of piling on the allegations that are in that case and accusing Logan of more wrongdoing would additionally hurt his reputation somehow.
Finn Dyson then asserted that Paul is nevertheless not innocent in all of this because he was the face of CryptoZoo and ultimately failed to deliver a viable game. One of the major fallacies with lawsuits is people believe that someone is going to win or lose a lawsuit because of one phrase or one word. That's not how it works. The process is full of motions and court filings of essentially lawyers building up your best arguments to present to a judge. And the judge should fully read all arguments presented by both sides, analyze the evidence, confirm previous case law matches the arguments presented, and then ultimately make a decision. Coffeezilla's conclusion, albeit made reluctantly and opaquely, was essentially that Paul was guilty only of putting together a team that was not up to the task and of failing to effectively manage the project. That, of course, is far different from intentionally engaging in an effort to scam people and to commit financial fraud.
Yeah, that's a fair statement there, obviously. It's... Yeah, this is where it gets really grey. Like, this is such a grey topic, and this is exactly why I think Logan Paul doesn't actually care about the case, full stop. He just wants to try to shut Coffeezilla up once and for all.
Fraud. I think Coffeezilla's legal team will present to the court the argument that the videos did include mention that Logan Paul shouldn't really be labeled as a scammer. In my opinion, that'll be a pretty strong argument because if you make a video alleging someone affords their lifestyle because they sold illegal drugs, but then at the end of the video share that you couldn't really find evidence indicating that they sold illegal drugs, then you didn't really defame them even though your initial allegation was a defamatory false statement of fact.
But then the whole point is contradicting, so there's no point in making the video in the first place, and that's kind of like, let's put it in the context of the whole Fiona Harvey case against Netflix right now. It was stated as a true story at the very beginning, and then Fiona Harvey's going down a defamatory route in court now. But then Netflix have made this statement, obviously at the end, that state that everything's changed and events, people, and locations have been changed to fit the dramatization of the show, which basically says based on a true story. So that's like, I guess that's the same, but in that term. But then it's like, what was the point in making the first statement if that's not the route you're going to actually follow through with? Does that make sense?
How does someone prove that they have a good reputation? Well, they don't have to. It's not an element of a defamation claim to establish that you previously had this sterling reputation that has been harmed. You just need to show the harm part. So it's not Logan's burden to say everybody loved me and I was this, icon of good business beforehand. He just needs to show that whatever his reputation was, it's been harmed by what Coffeezilla has done. It can be helpful to show evidence that he had a good reputation, and that could be introduced through things like character witness testimony or public surveys or something like that.
Despite referring to Logan Paul's
I wonder how a public survey would go down if people in the public were asked, what was your opinion on Logan Paul prior to the CryptoZoo issue? That would be very interesting. I wonder which way the poll would sway.
scam in the name of each part of his CryptoZoo series, the reality is that Finn Dyson knew from the outset of the production and publication of his series that the notion that Paul set out to scam anyone was completely and utterly false.
It's not really clear now that Logan's case is a slam dunk or even a winning one. I think that you can imagine a situation where if you're describing a project that is admittedly a scam, that Logan even said, look, my business partners intended to rip people off. It was all them. And he's the face of the project. You can argue, I think, that Coffeezilla is within his rights to say this is Logan Paul's scam and not have that specifically mean that Logan Paul was the mastermind of the scam and that he had involvement and intention behind how it ultimately played out.
There's three elements that are really important. One, are the claims accurate? Did they actually happen? Two, can the plaintiff actually prove damages if the alleged wrongdoing occurred? And three, will the defendant be held liable for these damages? Even if Coffeezilla said something false in the video, that doesn't mean he's going to be held liable in a defamation case. Logan Paul being able to prove damages from these allegedly false statements is going to be incredibly difficult.
For Logan Paul to prove damages in this case, what he would have to show is that the things that Coffeezilla said hurt his reputation and caused him some economic or reputational harm, which might be difficult to do in this kind of case because it's undisputed, even by Logan, that CryptoZoo ultimately was a scam. He's just saying that he didn't know about it, he didn't intend for it to break that way, and he's really throwing his business partners under the bus for the whole thing.
I wonder how he's gonna prove it. Like, if this was to go to court, obviously, because that's a big if at the minute. It's not confirmed, it's just, the complaint has been submitted. How is he gonna prove damages? How is he gonna prove damage to his reputation and economics? Because at the end of the day, he's still a WWE. He wasn't dropped by WWE over this. His YouTube channel wasn't terminated over this. Prime is still, well, I don't know if it's thriving anymore, but it's still popular. All of these things, like if his YouTube channel got terminated, he got dropped from the WWE, and Prime booted him out as a creator, then he could be like, right, Coffeezilla has defamed me. All of these things aren't true, and I've lost X, Y, and Z because of this. But he hasn't. Those things haven't happened. So it'll be really interesting to see how he tries to make that work in a court of law.
You have what's called defamation per se, where you don't have to prove damages, but that's mostly reserved for very heinous statements towards someone with absolutely no credibility. Whether Logan should or shouldn't be called a scammer is mostly irrelevant because his fans lost money, and that's objectively true and conceded by the plaintiffs. Despite his knowledge that it was fundamentally false to accuse Paul of operating a scam and to describe CryptoZoo as Logan Paul's scam, Finn Dyson persisted in doing so because he knew that accusing a public figure like Paul of engaging in a crypto scam would generate substantial viewership for his YouTube videos, earning Finn Dyson a higher profile and greater income in the process. My pushback to statements like this is that Logan's team took 18 months to file the complaint. That doesn't mean they'll immediately lose the case, but it doesn't exactly signal that you were being damaged.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. If you were damaged, the damage would come almost instantly after Coffeezilla drops those videos, not 18 months down the line, unless, again, like I say, he was suddenly dropped by the WWE because they looked into it and they were like, right, Paul, you're a scammer, we can't have you here, that's all quotational and hypothetical, get out. But that didn't happen.
In theory, you would file the complaint immediately after the videos if you believed the person making videos about you was acting maliciously. The harsh truth of the legal system is that the judge is all that really matters. In my case, the judge did not grant the anti-slap, and my arguments were significantly stronger than Coffeezilla's in this one. My case is a clear-cut example of a slap lawsuit, and my lawyers presented bulletproof arguments as to why it was a slap lawsuit, and it still wasn't granted. I bring that up because the judge could wake up one day and have zero interest in granting an anti-slap motion for Coffeezilla, and all of his research and all of his careful planning about what words to use or not use in a video could be rendered irrelevant. This next paragraph is really interesting to me, and I'll tell you how it relates in a second. Logan and Coffeezilla got on a call, and in relevant part, Finn Dyson expressed his belief that Paul was not a bad actor, but that he had gotten caught up with bad people in the CryptoZoo project. He complimented Paul's buyback announcement, stating that it was a noble thing to do and that he had never seen this type of initiative carried out. Logan Paul believes that Coffeezilla essentially made the videos to call him a scammer, yet privately tells him that he actually thinks Logan isn't a bad actor and insinuates that Logan was the one scammed all along. Do I think this means Coffeezilla was acting unethically or will lose this case? No. But what matters is how the judge perceives what's written in the complaint and the motions that will be filed. I'm assuming that Coffeezilla is first going to file a motion to dismiss and also file an anti-slap motion because Texas has strong anti-slap protections.
And basically the way anti-slap laws are supposed to work is if you get sued as a defendant for some conduct that was in furtherance of your First Amendment rights to talk about some issue of public concern, then you have an opportunity to shift the burden to the plaintiff to convince the court that they have a probability of succeeding on that claim.
All that the judge needs is the belief that Coffeezilla may have acted with malice and is curious enough to proceed with discovery. When someone files an anti-slap lawsuit, discovery is stayed, meaning it's held off until the judge rules on the anti-slap motion.
And the policy behind that is to curb frivolous lawsuits that are just designed to stop people from talking, basically.
Yeah, so that's exactly why I think this could, in my opinion, be the reason why Logan Paul is doing this lawsuit, is to just slap it against Coffeezilla to kind of shut him up, to stop him from going further with his investigations, and further kind of discrediting Logan Paul as a character, whether that be true or not,
So because Texas has an anti-slap law, Coffeezilla will probably try to avail himself of that anti-slap law and bring an anti-slap motion in connection with these defamation claims.
If the judge believes that discovery is warranted because there's some belief that Coffeezilla may have acted with malice, then he may not grant the anti-slap. Logan's team argues that there were important text messages missing in the video that would have made it more apparent that Logan Paul was actually a victim in this project as opposed to being a scammer. Finn Dyson purposefully omitted these and other examples from his series because he knew that they flatly contradicted any serious suggestion that Paul was perpetrating a scam. Does this change the narrative in the videos or mean Coffeezilla was acting maliciously? In my opinion, no. However, remember, it's all up to the judge. And when they hear the words omitting evidence in order to further allege an accusation that may be false, the judge may want to go through with discovery to figure out what else was omitted. Even worse, Finn Dyson affirmatively distorted the excerpts he did include, taking them out of context in an attempt to falsely portray Paul as a knowing participant in a nefarious money grab.
And so, if that's true, if Coffeezilla knew that, okay, Logan had no intention, in fact, wanted this to succeed and have everything be above board, but still made statements to the effect that, okay, Logan intended for this to become a scam and he wanted to rip people off. If Logan could establish all of that, then that would go a long way towards proving malice.
Logan responded to Coffeezilla after the videos were released. I think Logan actually had a huge opportunity to turn the situation into a positive and failed miserably. Logan should have allowed Coffeezilla to interview him for a separate video and answer any and all questions and refund all of the holders. Logan probably makes in excess of $10 million per year in the WWE. With Prime selling multiple $1 billion of hydration drinks in the first 2 years of existence, its valuation is probably around $3 billion or more already. Logan probably has around 10% to 15% equity, meaning his net worth just from Prime alone is over $300 million. Even if he feels like he's a victim, he easily had the financial capability of refunding everyone live on a Coffeezilla video where he could have earned so much respect from the audience.
Yeah, but at the same time, the question, I guess, kind of flipping this onto Logan's side, is it Logan's place to refund out of his own pocket? Does that make sense? I mean, let's say, I can't imagine refunding the victims would cost more than like maybe $2 million. Right? That's a ballpark figure. I don't know exactly. But let's say around $2 million. That is just a drop in the ocean in the grand scheme of things for someone like Logan Paul. And yes, to kind of make this all go away, he could have pushed that money to those people, you know, being like, look, you're all happy now, and then on the quiet, gone along and down this kind of legal route to try and recoup that money from the loss of earnings. Because then he might have an argument. But at the same time, I guess the onus does fall onto him, but is it fair that he has to pay out of his own pocket? That's the question asked, I suppose.
Instead, he's going to spend millions of dollars on multiple legal battles instead of sending the money to the victims. Logan is going to be faced with a massive judgment for the victims on top of paying millions of dollars in legal fees in the separate class action case involving CryptoZoo. Will Coffeezilla lose this case? Absolutely not. Could the judge completely screw up on an anti-slap motion and drag this case out for years? I will tell you from experience that it's possible. Thanks for watching. Logan.
Very interesting stuff. What do you guys think? If this was to go to court, who do you think could win? Logan or Coffeezilla? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. While you're down there, be sure to jump to get the hell out of that like button if you have not already. Subscribe if you're new and tickle my little bell so you get notified of whenever we upload to the channel. And until next time, guys, I hope that you have enjoyed. I cannot wait to see you in the next one, and I'll speak to you later. Peace.